Hey, what's up guys? Emo Cat Dad here, hanging out with you, bringing you yet another edition of Emo Cat Dad Listens. If you're new here, then thanks so much for stopping by. What it is I do here on this show is every day of 2024, I vow to check out a new band or artist. I check out 4 songs from across their discography, give you my initial thoughts on those songs, give you my ranking of the songs, and then of course give you my overall thoughts on the artist based on what I just heard. We're on the eve of the nerdiest day of the year. That's right. Today is May the 3rd, which means tomorrow is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And not only is it Star Wars Day, but it's also Free Comic Book Day. I'm rocking the shirt of my local comic book store, Big B Comics, so make sure you head over to freecomicbookday.com. Check out what stores near you are participating. Go out, get some free comics. There's lots of options: Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Pokemon, Fallout, One Piece. No matter what your fandom, whether you're into anime, video games, TV series, old school superhero stuff, there's lots of options for you to check out. Check out all the comics on freecomicbookday.com as well. So, since we're getting a little nerdy here today, and tomorrow to celebrate Star Wars Day and Free Comic Book Day, I figured we better do some nerdy music. And that's why we're checking out today's artist, Mega Ran. Now, this was a kind suggestion from one of you folks, and I'd kind of forgotten about it, because when it was brought to my attention, I was just like, oh, what do they do? And they were like, oh, he raps about video games. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then completely forgot about it. It wasn't until recently I was listening to an episode of one of my favorite podcasts, Fat Man Beyond, with Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin. And Mark was doing a sideshow called Black Man Beyond. And his guest host, one Mega Ran. Mega Ran wrote a theme song that got played at the beginning of the episode. And I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And that's when it went in my head that, oh, I should check this out for Emo Cat Dad Listens. And then I was like, yeah, stupid, someone had already told you to check it out. You just forgot about it. So, righting that wrong today, and we're checking out some nerdy music with Mega Ran. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first track I checked out was off his album Mega Ran 9. And it was called Splash Woman.
You seem like every couple years I get that feeling like I'm about to hit that ceiling.
Okay, so I love the beat of this song. They mixed in some like MIDI flute sounds to go with the beat. It worked so well together. It was honestly so mesmerizing. And there's actually quite a bit of singing here. I didn't expect that. I just expected rapping the whole time. And this was a Mega Ran solo song, so the dude is talented. I do remember hearing on that episode of Black Man Beyond that he was a former music teacher, so I guess that makes sense. Lyrically, this was obviously a Mega Man theme song. It was really cool. I dig Mega Man quite a bit. Shout out the Battle Network series. And I love that they incorporated some of the OG score sounds into the outro. Unfortunately, the outro went way too long. Alright, so the next Mega Ran track I checked out was New World Order off the album Map Mania: The Revenge.
Eric Bischoff was a tyrant, the ladder he was climbing.
So obviously, New World Order, Map Mania. This is a wrestling track. So for all you wrestling fans, you're gonna dig this. That's right, it's not just comics and video games and movies and TV shows and Funko Pops that you can be nerdy about. You can also be nerdy about wrestling. This was a solid track all around. I never really watched the WCW stuff, so I couldn't really pull out any inferences from the lyrics themselves. But I remember, certain things about, Hollywood Hogan and the spray-painted titles that were mentioned. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember seeing pictures of that, later on. It didn't speak to me as much as, it would to wrestling fans or, people that were a little bit older than me that remember the Monday Night Wars. Alright, let's check out something I do remember from the album Black Materia, the remake. I checked out the track Cloud Strife.
This story spun far and wide, and it scarred my pride down in my little heart inside.
Okay, so I've never actually played Final Fantasy VII, but I've seen like the Advent Children movie, and I've seen, enough gameplay of it over the years that I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of the story, and Mega Ran on this track was able to nicely fill in the gaps, because that's basically what this is: Cloud Strife's story in a rap song. The brass instruments in the background of the song ruled. My only downside with it is they were pretty low in the mix. Like, I really had to listen to hear them. When I got them, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But again, I had to listen so intently, it's like, you can bring it up just a little bit. And last, but certainly not least, or maybe it will be least, I don't really know yet, Mega Ran just released a new track last month called Driving Me Crazy. Yellow Taxi goes vroom.
The hip hop, I was so idle, and I was so vital. Topic is trending, is so vital.
So I had gone in thinking this was a Crazy Taxi song, and it still might have been, but I never actually really played Crazy Taxi. I played Lost Simpsons Road Rage, so I kind of had always assumed like this is how Crazy Taxi plays. The image on the single art also has like a wind-up toy thing, so maybe it's not Crazy Taxi. But yeah, I couldn't get any inferences from this song either. Just kind of sounded like it could be a road rage song. The beat was probably my least favorite. It was pretty generic in parts, but he does still add that Mega Ran flair where he adds other sounds into it, which I do appreciate. It's just not as much as on the last 3 tracks I checked out. But he does do a lot of different things with his vocals that he didn't do on the previous tracks, so I can still appreciate that at least. Alright, so those were the 4 tracks I checked out. Let's go ahead and rank them. Starting with number 1, we're giving it to our boy Cloud Strife. This Final Fantasy VII track had everything working for it. I enjoyed the beat, I enjoyed the lyrics, I enjoyed the vocal delivery, and I learned something from it all. So you can't lose when you have all those ingredients in one tight, like, under 3-minute song. At 2, we're going New World Order. My real only downside with this was I didn't have any nostalgia attached to the lyrics, but I still enjoyed the track overall. Mega Ran is super solid across the board on this track as well. At 3, we're going Splash Woman. Had you have told me that I was listening to a Mega Man song, a wrestling song, a Crazy Taxi song, and a Final Fantasy VII song, I would have said, oh, the Mega Man song is going to be my favorite. And honestly, it could have been well on its way to. I think this was my favorite vocal performance and flow that Mega Ran provided on any of these tracks. Unfortunately, that long outro just kind of got to me. It did not need to be a 5-minute song. It could have been a great 4-minute song. And honestly, if there was no long outro, it could have been number 1. I guess we'll never know. And finally, at 4, Driving Me Crazy. The beat just didn't do as much for me as on these other 3 tracks. I did appreciate the vocal swings that he did take on this, so there's that. But ultimately, it wasn't like there was one part that I was like, oh my god, that sounds so good. I'm so glad he did that. Whereas the other tracks had that, whether it was the meaty flute or whether it was the brass instruments that were just a little too buried in the mix. Alright, so those were my thoughts on these tracks. What are my overall thoughts on Mega Ran? Mega Ran is supremely talented. I noticed that he's done a lot of collabs on other things that I love, like Pokemon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I'm really excited to check those out. Unfortunately, he just wasn't listed as the main artist on there, so I didn't want to jump into those, but I really dig his flow, and his music making is so incredible. You could tell that he was a former music teacher with all these classical musical instruments he's added in, like the flute sounds and the brass sounds. Even when he's doing some like jazz drumming on some of these tracks, you can hear it. It sounds so great. I'm super impressed by him, and he raps about video games, so what is not to like overall? Alright, thanks so much for stopping by, guys, making it to the very end of this video. I appreciate you. I'm a big Mega Ran fan now. How about you? Let me know in the comments below. And how about, while you're down in those comments, you leave me some bands or artists that I should check out on a future episode. That'd be much appreciated. Maybe there's some other bands or artists that do video game music. Let me know if I should check any of those out. So please, please, please leave those suggestions below. Tomorrow, Saturday, May the 4th, Star Wars Day, go to your local comic book shops, grab some free comics, and support your local brick and mortar stores. Pick up some Funko Pops. I know I will be. Pick up some graphic novels, pick up some toys. Hey, most stores even sell like games and trading cards at this point, so maybe your kid's into like Pokemon cards or whatever. Grab some for them. And that's important. Take your kids too if you have any. I am an Emo Cat Dad, so Kirby is not allowed in the store, but human children are allowed in the stores, and there's lots of comics options for them. So take them out, have a great time, get them into reading, and support your local comic book store. So come on back tomorrow after you've done your free comic book day shopping and check out tomorrow's video. And the best way to remember to come back is to simply cut my wrist and hit subscribe. Emo Cat Dad signing off. Until tomorrow, when I'll have a bunch of free comics in my hand. I want to hear you sad.